Hey everybody, I'm Charting Man Dan with the Chart Guys. We're going to check in on Bitcoin. The metals have been ripping. We're going to talk again about the relationship between Bitcoin and the metals because for me, that's my last chance for the bulls to try and salvage longer term control of the monthly uptrend on Bitcoin. And we got to see the metals top for it to take shape. I'll show you what I mean. Learn how to trade stocks, crypto, and hype sectors with a global chat room led by professional traders, as well as daily live streams at chartguys.com. So we've talked about this before. It's nothing new, but we're going to revisit it because it's been a while. First things first, we'll do a quick check-in, and then I'll talk about the metals a bit. So I'm viewing the NASDAQ as an equilibrium. We set the high or low. We're up at the high of the bounce right now. The question into the end of the year is, do we set a lower high and keep tightening up, or can bulls break and test the all-time high? We got the financial sector hitting all-time highs. We got the healthcare sector 2.5% away. So overall, things are still bullish, bigger picture, aside from crypto. As we know with Bitcoin, it's been weaker than the NASDAQ. It's been lethargic. It's been weak. We know that much. We also know we're technically still in a monthly uptrend, but there's a lot of question as to whether that can be maintained. The red flags certainly have been flying over the last 6 weeks. One of them losing monthly EMA 12 for the first time on this bull run after holding it multiple times. And even if we do hold this support, again, we are going to have to be cautious of a potential monthly head and shoulders. So all that said, on the weekly time frame, the bulls are trying to negate a weekly bear flag. In order to do so, we have to confirm the daily uptrend, and then we got to break that top up at 94,000. So all the burden is still on bulls. The bears are extremely comfortable. If I'm a swing trading bear, I don't even think about covering if 94,000 zone is still resistance. So that's where we stand. Ethereum, looking for the daily trend change attempt as well. Again, burden on bulls. Must confirm the daily uptrend. If we do, it's a weekly higher low being set, but still weak overall. And just need to touch on MSTR because I was wrong. So back here, I took a stab and said, I think that the relative weakness or the discount of MSTR divided by Bitcoin is finding a bottom into the end of the year. And we hit a lower low today convincingly. So I was wrong. And I'm okay saying I'm wrong because I'm wrong all the time. And anybody that's an actual trader knows that traders are wrong all the time. And so I always love when someone tries to make me feel bad about being wrong about something. My response is always, dude, I'm wrong for breakfast. I'm wrong for a living. So I was wrong. Why is MSTR still weak? Probably they're still selling shares, raising cash, yada yada. That definitely puts downward pressure on the stock price, but it's still weak. So crypto, again, I talked in a recent stream about how I'm lumping together risk on names, quantum, rare earth, robotics, crypto, and crypto is on the weaker side of that spectrum of these risk on names as MSTR and these other names are showing us. So let's talk about the metals. So we know metals have been ripping. I took some more profit in silver today. I've been long silver for a year and a half. I've always been a proponent of diversification. If there are two bullish charts, I want my money in both of them. So I've been long silver for a while. And I'm now down to a third of my original position from the upper 20s because we're getting euphoric. This is reminding me of crypto euphoria where I don't nail the top, I scale out on the way up, and I ensure that when the top is hit, I don't give any back. But I'm not here to call a top in the metals. I'm here to say I scaled out some because we're euphoric, because we haven't come close to touching daily EMA 12 on silver in 3 weeks. And I would rather make mistakes, leaving money on the table and still benefiting with the position I have left versus topping out, pulling back 5 to 10% and saying, oh, I should have took more profit. That's just me and my style personally. Okay, Gold also strong, all-time highs. Platinum strong, all-time highs. All right, we get that much. Gold has been going pretty much straight up with sideways, a couple periods of sideways consolidation, but pretty much straight up for almost 2 years at this point. So I've done this before in these streams, but I'm going to do it again to just highlight what I'm talking about when I say there is a fairly rough inverse relationship between gold and Bitcoin for the last 2 years. It's not tick for tick, it's not day to day, but we're going to pull up the 2-week time frames with gold on the left and Bitcoin on the right, and I'm going to show you what I mean, and then we're going to talk a little bit more about it from there. So, let's see when I first want to start the comparison. So here we've got, let's just start at 2024. Here's the end of 2023 and the start of 2024 for gold with 6 weeks of sideways, 7 weeks of sideways. That is December and January 2024. December and January 2024 for Bitcoin, we are in the middle of a breakout. We're going from 40 up to 60, 70. I believe that was the ETF going on at that point in time. So, sideways gold, clear leg up for Bitcoin. Bitcoin then tops out early March all the way until September. Significant period. Early March all the way to September. Guess when gold gets its leg up? Early March. Here's October. So early March through September, gold is now breaking out. And gold is testing and hitting new all-time highs, while Bitcoin is pulling back for months. All right, now it's time for gold to chill out for 5 candles, which is 10 weeks. So that's 2024, November and December. What's Bitcoin doing 2024, November and December? It's right here. Sideways, Bitcoin's up. All right, Bitcoin tops out pretty much mid-December 2024, early 2025 for a significant period of consolidation. Here's the start of 2025 for gold, another leg up to new all-time highs. Going in the opposite direction. It's now time for gold to chill out. April, May, June, July, August. What's Bitcoin doing? April, May, June, July, August. We then top out in Bitcoin. We've been pulling back for a significant period here. We did get one more push higher, end of September, but Bitcoin down, gold, massive leg up. All that being said, my point is Bitcoin bulls need a lot of help. If they're going to pull this off and salvage the current setup, in my opinion, it has to be the metals topping and that shift happening again. And I would go so far to say is, I'm going to make up numbers. Let's just say, I'll try and get an accurate number. Let's say that I'm at 62% that Bitcoin is topping out and is about to be pulling back for a prolonged period of time. If the metals clearly top out into weekly consolidation and give us a setup where it's looking like we're going to consolidate at least for weeks, a couple months, if that happens and Bitcoin is not heading back up 100,000 plus, coinciding with that, my probability is it'll go from 62 to 92. So for me, this is almost like this is the last ditch effort of what the Bitcoin bulls need to see if they're going to salvage the monthly uptrend, because we are in a monthly uptrend still. It's got to be the metals topping out. And so good luck trying to nail a top in a blue sky breakout euphoria commodities name. It's even harder than a stock name because they trend more significantly. But that's something to be watching for in the weeks ahead. I look at silver and say, all right, weekly consolidation, I'm not going to be shocked at all the next time that shapes up, and I'm going to be looking for it sometime in the next couple of weeks, which is why I took some profit today on a 1.5 year long plus position. So that's just what I'm watching for. And there are a lot of people that like to deny the inverse relationship of Bitcoin and gold. I don't understand how that is possible when you just do what I just did. It's too glaringly clear for me. I'm not saying their entire history. I'm saying in the last 2 years, it is a very glaring inverse relationship where they have taken turns on their breakouts. And it's clearly gold and silver's turn still. So that's something I'm watching for. All right. That's what I got to say. What do you got to say? Any questions? Agree? Disagree? XMR is a lead bull, still holding on well. We broke a weekly equilibrium bullish to fresh highs. XMR has been significantly outperforming Bitcoin. All-time highs are back in play. Weekly EMA 12 rider for the last few months. That's going to be our longer-term guide. BCH had been a stronger name. It did reject. The other day, we got right up to this resistance zone, but pulled back, so we are still range-bound. BCH. But that is what I'm watching for from here. And obviously the space is dead. And I'm not calling for an alt season. You know what I've been saying about altcoins for a long time now. Can altcoins go up 50 to 100% if Bitcoin can recover? Yeah. But again, these are not the most likely scenarios. These are just what I'm watching going forward. I still have my Bitcoin position from the bounce play at 82,000 with selling partial. Now the stop's under 80. I'm just going to let it play out. I'm either going to stop out and not lose anything, or we're going to head up towards 100,000. Those are the only two ways that's going to play out. But, and again, it doesn't need to be the day metals top. We got to be zoomed out. Sometimes it lags by a couple of weeks. The comparison that I just showed you was fairly rough in the sense that, 1 or 2 candles off, that's 2 to 4 weeks. That's a significant lag time, so to speak. But again, for me, it's undeniable, that relationship. So we'll see once those metals top. Keeping in mind that when the metals top from here, we will just be looking for a weekly higher low initially. Let's just use silver again. And what will have me confident that it's a longer term top that's going to trade sideways for a while would be if we retrace 50%. If we retrace 50% of this last leg up, we're still going to be looking for a weekly higher low, absolutely, but that will then create the space and the range that we could potentially trade within for a number of months, which again is what gold has done a couple of times on the way up. This was consolidation from April to August, 4 months of extremely boring action. But from a longer term perspective, sideways in a breakout is a continuation best friend. NASDAQ still strong. Nice recovery, Tesla. Just looking at the market. Thanks for the likes and shares. Not many people around heading into the holidays. Yeah, I see the MSOS pop. They stopped me out, break even before it. What's the possibility that Bitcoin dragging sideways is similar to a Wyckoff pattern rather than a bear flag? Good luck choosing one or the other. It's a guessing game to a certain degree. For me, the key, Wyckoff aligns with, if you've been watching my content, I've been saying how one of the major shifts that I've made in my trading over the last 5 years is using flags that confirm with no follow through as a signal. And that's part of the pattern. So if this bear flag confirms under 80 and then we pop right back up to 85, that's a bullish signal for me. And so that's, the Wyckoff pattern is the break with no follow through. That's a part of it. Where's the bottoming one? So here you break the spring is the bear break, no follow through. So you don't know until, and that's why if I'm playing something like that, let's get into some trading. So if I'm playing something like that, we break support. How do you know if there's follow through or not? The break just happened. Again, you got to pop right back above it. And the thesis, the statement that I make if I'm making that attempt is bear break, pop back up. That's the low or I'm wrong. I'm now bottom fishing that level with a little bit of wiggle room below it, not much. Because if you break below it, pop back up, and then drop to a lower low, you're probably going to get some follow through. It needs to be a quick dip below, and then that's it. You don't revisit to a lower low from there. So you don't know until it's happening. You can't look at this setup and say one way or the other. I need to see what's the response to the support break before I determine the probabilities of that. Good question. Do I have a game plan of how and when to enter silver again? Back burners. That is why the strategy was invented. How can I long things that are in euphoria breakout markets while still protecting myself and having good risk reward setups? And silver, how have the hourly back burners been going? I know the answer, and it's good. Best time you could buy, the last 2 hourly back burners. We were going to hit 15-minute back burner this morning, and bulls front ran it by like 1 RSI point. We missed oversold back burner triggering by a nipple hair. So, back burners. The next setup that I'm looking for, okay, silver, daily time frame, a bit extended. I'm not comfortable entering here, but daily high or low, definitely on the table is the most likely scenario as a result of the next consolidation. So I'll be watching for an hourly back burner. And my style is I play the hourly back burner. I sell partial as a larger size day trade. I stick my stop under the low. Now I have a smaller size swing position. And that's the low into continuation, or I stop out, no harm done. But again, I sell too early on every euphoric move. I sold 2017 Bitcoin. What did we top? 19? I was probably all out by 15. I sold cannabis 2018, a couple days before the top, because I was anticipating the sell the news event. Every single time I sell, people tell me I'm wrong. I'm too early. We're going to the moon. Blah, blah, blah. My question is, what's the probability with a weekly chart that looks like this? What's the probability that silver is not going to be below $70 sometime in the next 6 weeks? And I say that's a very low probability. But I'm not trying to nail the top, and I don't have expectations of nailing the top, which is why I scale out. Everything that I've sold on silver at this point from my upper 20s entry, I'd say my average sell right now is probably about 65. And I also have position that I'm not going to sell for decades. So again, it's my same approach with crypto. I got my long-term no touch, most of which I'm still holding 8 years later. The silver positions that I have, I guess at this point I've been holding them for 5 years. Not my IRA paper position, but anyways. In my opinion, to be able to succeed in markets, you need to drop your biases and be able to bounce around to the opportunity. And this silver move was, a lot of people look at this and say, oh my goodness, but it was telegraphed a good bit in terms of the charts. Again, I can't say we're about to shoot straight up, but I can say this is a very constructive long period of consolidation that is nearing a break, and it favors the bulls, and it's a good risk reward setup. Anybody that's been following the broader market videos knows that I've been talking about silver a whole bunch. I'll tell you what it was. For me, it was a little cup and handle setup with a wall of resistance back here. So I liked, hold on. I'll get back to the crypto topic in just a minute. SLV, I'm going to use SLV here, but it was this resistant zone. And there's a tweet somewhere out there from March 2024, this cup and handle. And my mindset was, man, if we clear this wall, we're going to instantly be at multiple year highs. And this looks like a bull flag right under a major wall of resistance. This is when I started to get serious about silver. And from that point forward, there were no major red flags. Some shakeouts for sure. This one I was pretty close to getting shaked out there, but didn't. All right. NVO, is that crypto? That's not crypto. Is it? No. With a new yearly candle starting for Bitcoin and gold and silver, any views on the bigger picture? Metals look extremely extended, blah, blah, blah. I think I've answered that. But I just read the Market Wizards book, the original one from the 80s. And what all the pro commodity traders talk about is once these commodities get trending, they do stupid things. You know, they would have limit halt ups 6 days in a row for cotton or whatever. And we're seeing that in gold and silver with just a straight up move. RSI being overbought means very little to me in a market like that. If anything, it'll be like, okay, super stack, everything's extended, I'll trim a little bit of profit, but that's it. Do not try and short a blue sky breakout. Please, for the love of God. If you want to zoom out and have probabilities in your favor, give you 100 blue sky breakouts and you try shorting all of them, what number on those are you going to succeed? I'd say less than 10. Don't be dumb. Trade with probabilities in your favor. In my opinion, I don't know if gold's going to top before silver, but this chart's due for a bounce. Gold divided by silver is hitting some serious extremes, and we're testing the weakest that gold has been comparative to silver in 11 years. So how would this chart bounce? This is the same exercise of altcoins and Bitcoin. So if dominance is, let me see how I want to say this. If dominance is shooting up, Bitcoin dominance, no. Bitcoin dominance is dumping. Let's just pretend this is Bitcoin dominance. How would that likely bounce? Would it be altcoins? I'm giving the wrong example. I'm trying to give the example where markets pulling back, altcoins drop more than Bitcoin. In my opinion, when consolidation happens on the weekly time frame for metals, silver percentage-wise is going to pull back a bunch more than gold. And this chart's going to bounce on the weekly time frame as metals consolidate. So I'd be looking for metals consolidation, and then it's just a weekly EMA 12 rider, so that's a potential target. You know, can we get an oversold bounce to weekly EMA 12? So in my opinion, metals topping out, silver drops harder, this chart bounces. But again, no sign of it. How about Bitcoin? Do I have a plan for entering again for a long-term position? It's not even in the brain at this point. We're nowhere near enough fear. If I'm looking for long, like give me weekly oversold and I'll start creating a game plan. but we're nowhere near enough fear. Look at the 3-month chart. Look at a 6-month chart. Give me a 6-month higher low, weekly oversold. Everybody hates Bitcoin and the ETFs because they're driving extreme downside price action. I'll be interested in keeping an eye out for a 6-month higher low. But because I have 84% of my long-term no-touch position still, I'm in no rush to add anything in crypto. When exiting a position, do I use a market order or just keep walking up a stop loss? Both. So I will use limited market orders when I'm trimming into strength. And then the rest of the position, I'll give an example, these miners, metal miners. So I long these metal miners as a laggard play to the metals here. Nope. Maybe there. Somewhere around there, yeah. And my stop was here under this support. And then we get a leg up and I sell. I just market sell half of my position. Now I can't lose. And now I'm just walking up a stop. I will not exit my remaining half position into strength. I will only be stopped out. So I walked up my stop here. The next time we have a new daily support level, I'll walk my stop up again, and eventually I will stop out before weekly consolidation begins. So it's both. First year where stock gains are more than crypto gains in 8 years. Glad to hear it. I'm the opposite. My crypto gains, I think I've only exceeded my stock gains once or twice. It's a nice feeling. IREN. That's crypto related. Just a clear daily downtrend at this point still. We know bigger picture we're watching for a monthly high or low. We pulled back the 50% that comes from these massive, many hundreds of percent runners. We know a monthly high or low is the most likely scenario, and we will most likely see a monthly tightening range for a while, just like Quantum, just like tons of these other major breakouts. We have a clear daily downtrend as our guide. As far as I'm concerned, anything under 48.91 is a lower high. I was watching for a possible inverse head and shoulders type of setup here that failed, and I'm still watching for that. If we get a big enough bounce, I'm watching for the daily trend change attempt. We don't have a clear daily uptrend since we topped out. I'm watching for the same thing in CRWV. Unrelated, but similar. So that's what I'd be watching for. And there is some relative strength over the last week compared to other crypto names. But again, you just look at this chart and say, okay, we can always go lower, but just I know eventually a monthly higher low is extremely likely to form, 95% sure. And now it's just trying to pinpoint that monthly higher low and using the daily chart zoomed in to do so. What do I think about palladium and copper? I think they are bullish. Palladium was a nice laggard. I asked Jungle Funk Joey about laggards a couple days too late because palladium was the answer, but it was already breaking out at that point. Probably 3 days too late to ask that question. Wouldn't buying BTC be the same as shorting metals? No, it's not that kind of relationship. It's not a tick for tick inverse relationship. So for example, gold can just go sideways for 3 months while Bitcoin goes up 48%. So I would not consider that shorting gold. Right. The only way that other chart bounces is gold outperforms silver or silver pulls back harder. And based where we are with everything and the lack of support silver's building on the way up, I think it's the latter. Thanks, Sombla. Happy to help. Yeah, well, CIFR was the one I started watching more recently. Standard equilibrium at this point. High, low, lower, high. Bulls are hoping for the weekly high or low to keep tightening up through January. But bulls need to confirm a daily uptrend to set that weekly high or low, same as Bitcoin. Yeah, I'm definitely aware of the narrative shift that pushed IREN to get that move, jumping on the AI narrative. One more check-in on the market. NASDAQ holding well. Crypto clawing back a bit. Let's zoom in on crypto. Equilibrium. Standard equilibrium. Bitcoin divided by the NASDAQ. Testing these lows. And again, this is the weakest that Bitcoin has been compared to the NASDAQ in a year. But volatility is coming here. Look how tight this is. This sideways range, percentage-wise, we don't often trade in that constricted a range this long. So what does that tell me? That tells me a break is coming. And right now, obviously, it favors the bears still. So we'll keep an eye on that. All right, I'm going to wrap it up. Appreciate you watching. Thanks again for the likes. Again, just another little check-in because there have been multiple times in the year where I've cared a lot about the metals and Bitcoin relationship. As I've highlighted before, I've just forgotten. If you, let's an example, if you show me this, take me back 3 months in time. In my time machine. 3 months ago, we're saying Bitcoin's up in the 1 teens. Take me back 3 months ago and show me this silver chart and say, this is what silver is going to do over the next 3 months. And you put a gun to my head and you say, you have to tell me what is Bitcoin doing over the next 3 months. And I would guess consolidating. Because if I have to choose one or the other, I'm going to go with the trend of what's been happening for the last year and a half at that point. If it's all the same, I think I get a little bit of probability favor if that's my choice. And so again, in that context, it's not surprising that Bitcoin is seeing monthly consolidation. Anyways, just thinking out loud and sharing it with you all. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, do good things. It's very easy to make a kid's day on Christmas. So do it. And we're going to circle back and we'll be talking about this next time. We can say, okay, metals top is clearly in for now. And again, it doesn't mean it's the top. We can top out and trade sideways for 2 months, 3 months. But when we'll come back here and we'll say, okay, metals are clearly in, top is in for weeks at a minimum. And then we'll see how that translates in the crypto space. Don't need to look at the Bitcoin divided by gold chart. I know it's going down hard.